Good afternoon and blessings, everybody. What's going on? It's your man, Rod Hickman, generational wealth builders, where poverty ends with us. Listen, we're super excited to be here for this very special episode of the Savages Den. What we like to do here in the Savages Den is one of those places where we like to talk about faith, family, and finances. And so what we always like to do in the Savages Den is more of a iron sharpening iron type environment where we get a chance to talk about things that are going to make us challenge ourselves, things that are going to make us look at ourselves, things that are going to really make us uncomfortable to the point that we are willing to grow. And as I told y'all, we've been able to, I guess the law was on our side on today for real, because we've been able to get probably one of the most prolific people that I know. Again, has a host of accomplishments. But again, he's just a good dude, if I can say it like that. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to bring to the stage none other than my baby cousin, but he the big homie, Mr. Anquan Boldin. Cool, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing, cuz?
What's going on, fam? How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I can't complain.
Man, I heard that. Well, listen, welcome to the Savages Den, man. And I was just telling everybody that this is a place where we like for iron to sharpen iron, a place where we like to challenge ourselves to grow, where we challenge ourselves to be better. And so, why don't you just go ahead on and introduce yourself to everybody, man?
Yeah, man, I'm Anquan Boldin. Everybody knows me, I guess, for football. Played in the NFL 14 years. But for me, I like to be known as for what I do off the field, as a husband, as a father, as a man of God, and what I do in my community. I've always said if God put me on this earth to play football, score touchdowns, and do that stuff, then I got cheated because, I mean, like most people know, football ends for most people. The statistics say, 3.5 years will be your professional career. Obviously, I outlived that by a long time, but still, man, I don't want to be just known for what I accomplished on the football field, because in the end, that really doesn't mean much. So.
Exactly right. Well, man, listen, and so I'm sharing the flyer that we put together, and one of the things that I've really admired about you is that you are a giver, man, and that's why when I put together this flyer, one of the things that I put on top was that you are the founder of the Q81 Foundation. So, could talk a little bit about that foundation, the Q81, where it came from, and what it does currently.
Yeah, so I have I have multiple foundations. Q81 was the first one. I started in 2004. Me and my wife, we have the Anquan and Dion Boldin Scholarship Foundation, which we started, I think, in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. And then I'm a co-founder of the Players Coalition, which is a group of both current and former athletes. It used to be just NFL players, but we've moved on, and it's both current and former athletes who create social change in this world. But for the Q81 Foundation, I think we started in 2004. It was after my rookie year in the NFL. And for me, it was always something that was on my heart. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to always give back. Obviously, I come from Pahokee, a less fortunate area, an area where it's more family oriented. Well, when I grew up there, it was, if I have, you have. If you have, and we borrowed, we bartered, we shared, a little bit that we did have, even if we had much, it was always that principle of taking care of your neighbor. So that's where the Q81 Foundation came from. Like I said, I always had it in my heart. If I ever made it, didn't have to be the NFL, but just some form of success, I always wanted to give back. And that's the reason I started the Q81 Foundation. It's still active to this day. We've been up and running about 20 years. And for that foundation, man, we've helped out in any way that we can. A lot of times I don't like to talk about the things that we do because, you know, in some sense or form, to me, it's almost like bragging.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I never wanted to start a foundation. I always wanted to give back, but didn't want to start a foundation. And then I had the older gentleman come to me, and he was like, "Look, man, I see you doing all this stuff, and you're doing it behind closed doors. But," he said, "if you want people to come alongside of you and join you and help you, you got to start a foundation. People got to know that, you know, that you're legit, number one, and that the funds that they're, you know, giving to you will be handled in the right way." So that was the reason I actually started a foundation. I actually never wanted to. I always wanted to do things, you know what I'm saying, on an anonymous basis. But I was kind of convinced to start a foundation.
Exactly right. And again, I remember, man, and I'll say this, and I'm probably doing more damage to myself than I should. But I'm a Florida Gators fan, have been for the longest. And there was only one time when I really rooted for Florida State, and that's when you were there. I followed you. I remember I got mad at Bobby Bowden because they were riding or dying with Chris Ricks, and I'm like, "Why don't you put Quan up? Let Quan go." You know what I mean? And I'm out there, again, while you were there, I rooted for Florida State. But I remember, bro, once you got into the league, I remember how immediately, man, you came up with the Q Fest, where you would bring all of these players down to Pahokee. And for those out there that don't know, Pahokee is probably the epitome of a small town.
Yeah.
I think they got 3 stoplights maybe now, something like that. If it has. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I think it'll be 1 or 2 up right now.
Right. So the thing is, but you brought all that exposure there. And I just remember thinking, man, that's phenomenal. And I remember then seeing how you would turn around, you and your wife would then give scholarships out for people going to college every year. So talk a little bit about that, Phil.
Yeah, man. I've always been proud of where I come from. You know what I'm saying? It's a small town. It's a town known to be below the poverty line, but like I said, growing up there, man, it made me who I am today. You know what I'm saying? Like the values that were instilled in me, still are with me to this day. I remember seeing my grandma, both of my grandmas, like take care of people that they had no relation to. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right.
Feeding people that needed to be fed, housing people that needed to be housed. You know what I'm saying? Taking care of people in any way that they could. When you talk about Meals on Wheels, I think they invented that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
that's right.
And that's what I grew up around. You know what I'm saying? Always taking care of people, not because of, they're some kin to me or anything like that, but just because it was the right thing to do. So for me, that was instilled in me at a young age. I saw my mom do the same thing. I always tell people my mom thinks she can save the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got a problem, you know what I'm saying? Like, she thinks she can fix it, but that's just the heart that, you know what I'm saying, they have. And for me, like I said, it has always been in me to give back to where I come from, because, like I said, Pahokee gave me my first opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, what people were seeing on Sundays, I was given that opportunity from, you know what I'm saying, Pahokee. So they raised me, helped raise me, and we always lived on that creed. You know, it takes a village to raise a child, and there was a lot of hands in my upbringing, as far as people that helped, rear me as a child, and like I said, helped me to get to where I was. So it was impossible for me to turn my back on my hometown once I made it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Because for me, yeah, I come from 2 big families in Pahokee. You know what I'm saying? But all of Pahokee is my family. And I think if you ask anybody in Pahokee, when I made it to the NFL, man, it seems like the city made it.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying? That's what I carried with me. So I always wanted to show my coworkers, you know what I'm saying, where I came from. This is what made me. This is why I am the player that I am. This is why I am the man that I am. the leader in the locker room that I am. All of that comes from, me growing up in Pahokee. And like you said, starting Q-Fest was my way of saying thank you to the community.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Supporting me in high school, for supporting me in college, and the continued support while I was in the NFL. So that's why you would always see me bring back, 30, 40 NFL guys a year.
That's right.
Showing those guys where I came from, but also allowing the community to just touch the guys who they see on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? To like have them be able to interact with guys and just let them know, man, these guys are human just like you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, up to them, but here they are in the flesh. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times people that make it, they kind of distance themselves from where they came from. And I never wanted to do that. When it came to the scholarship piece, me and my wife, we've been fortunate. God has blessed us. And I know we realized her parents are immigrants. They come from Jamaica. They built the life for themselves here in America. I mean, our family track record.
Yep.
Cane, any field, not just cane fields. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I've worked in it, and they have a reputation for being hard workers. You know what I'm saying? In the communities, being good people. But for me, it was when we were younger, we were growing up. You could have a trade or not go to college and still go out and find a job and be able to afford to take care of your family.
That's right.
It's completely different. You know what I'm saying? In order to be competitive in the job market, I mean, you have to have some form of secondary education.
That's
and,
right.
With me and my wife, we realized that. So we also understood, like for me, had it not been for a football scholarship or an academic scholarship, I wasn't going to college because
Right.
my parents couldn't afford it.
Right.
And there are a lot of kids who live in the Glades area who are still in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to depend on, scholarships and things like that in order to go to college, in order to further their education. So, like I said, because we were blessed and put in a position where we could do that, we put up $1 million endowment to where we can give scholarships each year to graduating seniors. So that was our heart in doing that, man. And we wanted our legacy to outlast us.
That's right.
We're dead and gone. We still want to be able to make an impact in this world. And that's the reason that we started the Scholarship Foundation.
Right, man, that's phenomenal. I know what you said. It was really powerful that, we look up to people that we see on TV. And, we're like, oh, they're this and they're that. But being able to be in close proximity to them helps make them real. And I know for me, my wife and I, about 3 weeks ago, we were in Dallas, Texas, and we got invited where we qualified for this very special broker academy. And we had the opportunity. We were in the room literally with several multimillionaires, right? And they were teaching us, hey, you do this, you do that. So it's one thing to hear the strategies. But I think the most impactful part for me was when we sat down at lunch or sat down at dinner or sat down at breakfast, and we had the opportunity to talk back and forth.
Right.
And what it did was, to your point, it humanizes them, right? Because we have a tendency naturally when somebody has made it, we're like, oh man, that person is up there. But then when you realize that he's human. Oh my, he chooses food the same way I do. You get what I'm saying? She does, that has a way now of creating in my mind more of a cortical pathway that says, you know what, I really can do this. And what I love about the Q Fest was it gave people the opportunity. Now, did all of them take advantage of it? No, absolutely not. But it's the fact that you created the opportunity. And I'm quite sure there are some that because you created that opportunity, that caused them to have, a much different outlook on life, where they're like, you know what, because I met, Tim Tebow, what I mean? I shook Tim Tebow's hand. I shook this one hand. I shook that one hand. Man, I feel like I can go and do great things, right?
Right.
And that's why I really, really applaud, man, what you did with that, man, because again, I just know that, you may never know the full impact of it, but that has got to have had an impact on so many people's lives, bro, because, just because you brought that to Pahokee, you know what I mean? Where 1.5 stoplight town, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So let's talk a little bit, man. So let's talk about faith. I know you to be a minister. I know you to be a man of God. So talk to me a little bit, man. Again, I know you grew up in the church and things of that nature. So talk to me, cuz, about how I don't want to use the word faith, because I think we use that word too randomly, but how did your relationship with the Lord, how did that play out in who Anquan Boldin is, how Anquan Boldin became the name that he became?
Yeah. Like you said, I grew up in the church. My grandfather was a pastor. His brothers pastors.
Yeah.
I mean, the list go on and on.
Yeah.
Uncles, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think I tell people a lot of times, man, growing up in the church was one of the best, and then I won't say the worst thing, but there was good and bad in both. Growing up in the church, obviously you come to know, or you're taught about Christ at an early age.
Okay.
How soon we grasp that is a lot different than, what we're being taught. Reason why I say sometimes it can be a bad thing, because I think a lot of times people who are raised in church, they begin to learn the protocols of church, if that makes
Perfect sense.
And it prevents them from knowing who God truly is.
Exactly right.
You have people who, mom and dad bring them to church every Sunday, and they still don't know God.
Right.
And I think that's the bad side of it, because you see it. We go to church and you can tell who's going to do what at what time of the service.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We used to pick at the lady who was going to shout, or the person
That's right.
who was going to speak in tongues at a certain time. And we knew the order of service. We knew when to clap. We knew when to say amen. We knew when to stand, when to sit.
That's right.
So we knew the protocols of church. But it wasn't until, for me, you had to deal with life that you truly begin to understand who God is. And I think, because as long as you under your parents' wings or under their household, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't really seeking God like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? God is not your source. You know what I'm saying? Like, you pray when your mom or your dad tells you to pray, or, you know what I'm saying, stuff like, or when times get bad, you know what I'm saying, to pray. But as far as having a relationship with God, that's absent. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes I think that's the failures of the church, because we don't teach people the intimacy that we're supposed to have with God. Now, when you get out on your own and life starts beating you up, I think that's when most people, you know what I'm saying, like,
Right.
begin to search and seek for God. You know what I'm saying? And like the Bible tells you, you draw nigh to me, I'll draw nigh to you. You know, God ain't going nowhere. God is always there seeking us. You know what I'm saying? God is always there trying to draw us with his love. when we begin to answer that call and start to seek him out, do we truly begin to understand, okay, who God is? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can look at it in the Bible, man. Like, I think there's scriptures in the Bible that talks about people who walk with God but didn't truly know God.
That's right.
You
That's
know
right. That's right.
And when we begin to walk with God and we begin to seek him out, then his word becomes, or I think there's a veil removed off of our eyes where we begin to understand who God is. Like, you look at the disciples, they walked with Christ for 3 years.
Yep. Yep.
But you read the Bible and it says, like, after Christ was dead and resurrected, it says now they start to remember what he taught them.
That's right.
And then it became clear to them, oh, okay, this is what he meant.
Exactly right.
Or when he said this is what he meant by that. And I think a lot of times that's us. We grow up in the church and we read the Bible, but there's a veil over our eyes. You know what I'm saying? Until we truly start to seek Christ, and then that veil is removed and we start to get the revealed word of God to us. So for me, I mean, that's the path, man. Just, I grew up in the church, you know what I'm saying? Like, knowing about God, but not truly having a relationship with God.
Exactly right. You know, and that's, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nah, but then you get out in the world and, you know what I'm saying, you start going through this stuff and you start questioning God. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, like, well, what's this about? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times that's God breaking us down.
Right.
Getting our attention.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow. You said so much there, man. I had just talked about, and I've been talking about for a minute, about the disciples. And while Jesus was there, everything was all good, right? And I often have two distinctions of people. You got church folk and you got the saints, right? And church folk were the Sadducees and the Pharisees and all of that. And what people don't realize is, because of what you were talking about earlier, being taught the protocols and all of this, there's a service that comes, but it's not unto the Lord, so to speak. Does that make sense? So we go to church, you sing in the choir, you know, you usher, you know, you get up, you say your Easter speech. Those are all services that we do, but is it really, really to Christ? To the point of, and I love talking about Peter, because I think Peter is the perfect example of a prototype Christian. I think when you look at Peter, Peter was close to Jesus. Peter was always there. Peter was the one that walked on water. Peter was the one that when Jesus said, well, who do you say that I am, right? It was him that the revelation was given that thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Then the Lord turns around and say, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for my Father revealed to that. And as a result of that, here are the keys to the kingdom. But just like so many of us that grew up in church, we take that word, but because we don't have the understanding and we don't have the revelation, a few verses down, Jesus is talking about what he's going to have to endure. And Peter begins to rebuke the Lord. How did that happen? How do you now begin to rebuke the Lord? And as time will go on, Jesus goes to the Garden of Gethsemane. He gets to the garden and say, can y'all pray with me for 1 hour? Peter goes to sleep, right? All of them are asleep. And the Lord needed them at that time, but they were unavailable. Why? Because it was uncomfortable. I'm getting to my point here. When Jesus was crucified, the disciples got together and Peter told everybody, I'm going back fishing for what God called me to do, called me from, I should say. I'm going back to that thing. And I think, and this is where I want to get your perspective on it, right? Because a lot of us grew up in church, but we get out of our parents' homes, we get away from that authority figure, Big Mama passed, Paw passed, whatever was the glue that kept us faithful. When that's no longer there, how do I get back to the master? Because again, Peter said, I'm going back fishing. And so we know that Jesus now was not going to come back in the same manner that he was there beforehand, right? And so with that being said, how do we help young people now, like yourself? And can we just be honest, even older people, how do we help them have that encounter with the Lord, whereas they may have walked away from the Lord? But how do we get them to get back to what it was that they were taught before? Because now, let's just be honest, a lot of times when people go through stuff, they turn to other things, right? They turn to drugs. Everybody's smoking weed now. It's always something. So I want to get your opinion on that, man.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think we do a disservice because sometimes we think bringing our kids to church is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught, you know what I'm saying, some things. Again, we're not taught intimacy with Christ.
Okay.
That's why you'll see, like in the Old Testament, it tells them, you know what I'm saying, the children of Israel. He tells them, man, look, study this day and night.
That's right.
Don't turn to the left or to the right of my word. You need to study and meditate on this day and night. Too often, we don't teach. We teach these stories. You know what I'm saying? Like in Sunday school class, you teach David and Goliath. You teach, you know what I'm saying, Moses and the children of Israel. You teach Daniel's in the lion's den. You know what I'm saying? Like Abraham, Sarah. Like you teach stories.
Mm-hmm.
But how often do we teach the scriptures?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like we have these like little pretty stories, you know what I'm saying? Like when we're in Sunday school and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? You teaching these kids, and trust me, everything is age appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But do we do a good enough job of teaching people who God is? You know what I'm saying? Like when I was young, for example, did your parents really sit you down and teach you how to pray?
Right.
Or did they just teach you the Lord's Prayer? You know what I'm saying? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Right.
He didn't say, pray this prayer. He said this prayer. He said, pray in this manner. Like,
yep, that's
when
right.
I come to God, I exalt God.
That's right.
God, you are God. There's none greater than you.
That's right.
Why, you know what I'm saying? Our Father who is in heaven. Like, God is above us.
That's right.
He has no equal.
That's right.
Hallowed be your name. Like, we serve a perfect God, a holy God. Like, these are the things he's trying to teach us in this prayer, not repeat after me.
Yeah.
But we don't teach, you know what I'm saying, our kids how to reverence God.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God.
Yes, sir. Yes.
When we teach people how to fear God, meaning to reverence God, there's a lot of things you won't do based off of
the reverence
that you have for God.
That's
and
right.
you not wanting to bring dishonor to God.
That's right.
If you had a fear of God, you wouldn't have sex out of wedlock.
That's
because
true.
you know that will bring shame to his name.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, when we teach people how to reverence God, how to fear God in the proper way, and there's a lot of things you wouldn't even have to you wouldn't have to teach people not to steal, not to kill, not to, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that will become innate in us because we don't want to disappoint him.
Mm-hmm.
I had this conversation with somebody, and I was talking to them, and you know, we was just talking about what we say, like the commandments. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, why we got to follow these commandments? Why we got to do this? Da 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 da. First of all, God gave us these commandments,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I said, here it is, you complaining about life and the things that go on in life, but yet you don't want to obey the one who gave you life.
That's right.
So I said, I'm gonna show you just how simple this is, right? So let's take some of the things we deal with in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I said a lot of them can be eliminated if we're just obedient to God's law. God says, don't have sex outside of a marital covenant.
That's right.
Don't commit adultery, right?
That's right.
If you have sex, it's between you and your wife, or you and your spouse, whoever your spouse is, it's between you and your spouse. And we want to give God grief about that. Well, why I can't do it this way? Why I can't test it out? Why I can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And we're questioning God. And God knows we're not smarter than God, first of all.
Right.
That's something we need to get through our heads.
Right.
You're not smarter than the creator.
That's right.
So if he tells you don't do something, it's for a reason.
That's right.
God's not trying to prevent you from enjoying sex. Matter of fact, God made sex. He made sex for us to enjoy.
That's right.
But in the right context.
There we go.
He says, now if you got a spouse, y'all can enjoy sex as much as you want to.
That's right.
But just don't do it outside of this covenant, this marital covenant.
That's right. That's right.
But then we get mad when God says that. But look at all the problems we create when we have sex outside of a marital covenant. You take away sex outside of a marital covenant, and look how many things you
will clean up. That's right.
Go through as a nation.
That's right.
You're talking about child pornography.
That's right.
You're talking about sex trafficking. All of these things we can eliminate if we did it the way God said do it.
That's right.
If you don't want the divorce rate to be as high as it is, if you don't want blended families, if you don't want abortions, if you can go on and on with this list of things that we deal with simply because we want to say, well, God, I don't want to do it your way.
That's right.
So if we only become, like he said, listen, study my word day and night. Don't turn to the left or to the right of it. And you will be blessed because of that.
That's right.
Now, when you get big and bold and you want to turn to the left and the right, then there's some things, some unintended consequences that you got to deal with.
That's right.
But when you deal with those consequences, don't ask God why he allowing you to go through it.
Yeah.
When he tried to prevent you from it in the first place.
Exactly right. So you bring up some great points, man, and I'm not gonna tie you up all day because we could, but here's what I want to kind of go back to, because I hear you talking about reverencing God, and the scripture asks the question, how can you worship a God that you don't know, right? And then it talks about, how faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. You know what I mean? And the thing is, we have so many people that have gone out there that are so-called word carriers, right? But I'm not going to pivot on that. What I see, and I kind of want to get your opinion on it, because again, you've made it at the highest levels. I'm quite sure you've been invited to events, again, most of us would give your kidney to go to, right? Things of that nature. How did you endure the temptation to not participate in that stuff instead of maybe utilizing legalism to say, well, I got to do it because of ... So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, that all comes with your relationship with God, man. Like, again, and that's why I say intimacy is so important. Because if I have a personal relationship with God, he's going to teach me how to handle situations.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus left, he said, I'm gonna send you a helper.
That's right.
Which is the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
A lot of stuff I avoided just because of, and don't get me wrong, I ain't perfect.
Right.
You know what I'm
saying? Yeah.
I'll be the first to say that. I'm not perfect, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, I did everything the right way, you know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. Like, I didn't.
Yeah.
I tell my kids the same thing. I'm not about to lie to you, you know what I'm saying, and have you looking at this ghost of who you think your dad is, you know, trying to live up to that.
Right.
That I failed.
Right.
And because I failed, I can teach you how not to fall into those same temptations.
That's right.
But a lot of the things I didn't do because of that fear. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 43 right now, and I'm not bragging, but I can say I never drank, I never smoked, you know what I'm saying? Never did any drug, nothing, like none of that stuff. And it's not because I'm better than other people or anything like that. It's just, man, I feared God.
Right.
You know? And like one of the things that really, really steered me away from like drugs altogether. I remember when I was young and we were living in Friend Village, and I told my mom, I said, man, I'm gonna make it to the NFL. And I had to be like 7 years old, 8 at the most. And she was like, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, she kind of blew me off, whatever. A couple weeks later, I told her the same thing. Man, I'm gonna make it to the NFL. When I do, I'm gonna buy you a house. I'm gonna get you out of here, da whatever. She said, you really serious about this, huh? I said, yeah. She said, all right, come get in the car. So we jump in the car, we drive uptown. So she said, you really want to make it to the NFL? I was like, yeah. She said, I'm gonna show you something. She said, you see that man right there? I was like, yeah, the homeless dude. She was like, yeah. You see him? I was like, yeah, why? She was like, that's my classmate. She was like, he's probably one of the best athletes to ever come through Pahokee. But because he got involved with drugs, look how his life turned out. So if you truly want to make it and be an NFL player, you got to stay away from that. Wow. And I was 7 and 8 years old. And boy, that stuck with me. I'm talking about,
wow.
It was what I lived off of. I'm talking,
yep.
I got to high school, and you know, you got homeboys who drinking and smoking at that age.
Yep.
And they like, hey, bro, we about to, hey, y'all go ahead, fam. Like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
College, and it's the same thing. You got upperclassmen, hey, man, let's go here, da. So we go kick it. And they offer me, you know what I'm saying, something to drink or something. Nah, I don't do that, bro. Man, come on, man. Like, I remember vividly, it was my senior year in high school. And you know, I'm taking my visits. And one of the visits I took was University of Miami. It was actually Super Bowl week. Atlanta Falcons was playing. I think Atlanta was playing Denver, if I'm not mistaken. But they were playing in Miami. So I go on my visit. And Miami had just played, the Hurricanes had just played in the bowl game, I think against UCLA. They beat UCLA in that bowl game. Edgerrin James had just had a big game. So I'm on my visit. And this weekend, they brought in all the top recruits. You know what I'm saying? It's the who's who of like the best players in high school in the nation. So we all in Miami, Super Bowl weekend, we on our visits. And you know, like, you during the day you with the coaches and they showing you the school and all of that stuff. But at night they pass you off to the players.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So players, and I think it was Edgerrin James and Bubba Franks. They had an apartment together. So all the recruits, we went to their house, you know what I'm saying, their apartment before we was about to go out. And so we in there, they playing video games or whatever. And then, you know, they offering the recruits drinks. And, you know, recruits want to look cool, want to fit in. So they drinking or whatever. And they turn to me like, bro, you going to hit this? I'm like, nah, fam, I don't get down like that. Ah, man, you know what I'm saying? You might not drink now, but when you get to school, you going to drink. Like, nah, bro, like, that ain't me. And I get to college, Florida State, it's the same thing. Like, dudes offer me drink, you know what I'm saying, smoke, like, whatever. Now, right. That, like, to the point where it was a bet going on, like, I bet by the time he leaves here, I'm gonna have him drinking.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the peer pressure that you have to deal with. But because of what was taught to me at the age of 7, 8 years old,
That's good.
I couldn't go against that. You know
That's
what I'm
good.
saying? I saw with my own eyes what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to say, you know what I'm saying, no, and by me standing up to peer pressure, it got to the point where I didn't have to say anything anymore. Like when somebody came and was like, "Hey Q, man, you want a drink?" Somebody else would step in like, "Hey, bro, nah, he don't do that." Like, you know what I'm saying? Chill out with that, bro. Like, so it got to the point where people saw that I was real in my convictions, and they realized like, "No, dude, he for real, for real." So they went to standing up for me.
Right.
And it became the same way, you know what I'm saying, when I got to the NFL. One thing you can bank on. If you tell somebody a believer, they're gonna try you.
That's right. That's right.
See where you are, because more importantly than you saying you're a believer, people want to see you live it out.
That's right.
And they're gonna test you to see if what you say is true.
Exactly right.
And if you're not steadfast in your convictions,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna show them otherwise. And you showing them otherwise is gonna hurt your witness.
Yep.
But when you stand true on your convictions, like I've had a lot of people come to me afterwards, after they tried me, and they say, "Hey, bro, like, you for real, like, let's talk." And because I stood on my convictions and my faith in Christ, I was able to have conversations with people about Christ and have them take those conversations serious, because they saw it wasn't just lip service. It was actually a lifestyle for me.
Exactly right. Man, that's powerful. And when you were talking about that, I got to thinking about Daniel. I got to thinking about how when Nebuchadnezzar and that army came in and took over, how the first thing they did was they took the 120 fellows and brought them over to train them in the ways of the Chaldean.
Yeah.
And it was only 4 boys out of 120 that stayed the course. So as you were talking, that's just what I thought about, you know, how they were eating the meat from the king's table. Everybody else was, but they was like, no, we can't do that. And so that, I think that is, that's amazing, right? Because like you said, and that's something that I just wrote down. When you're steadfast in your convictions, it's going to benefit others. And again, you can go back and read the story of Daniel and the Hebrew boys. Literally, it's because of their conviction that all of those administrators and everybody else is still alive. Because Nebuchadnezzar was finna kill every one of them because they couldn't interpret the dreams. But again, because of their steadfastness, they grew. Man, that's powerful. So let's pivot here. I heard you give a shout out to Cousin Brand. And that in itself is powerful, because when you start looking at family is the bedrock to who we are. And I know she's proud of you. I know she's proud of your siblings and all of that, you know, especially Big Red. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm a big fan of Red, your brother, because I remember now he and I used to party together. You know what I'm saying? He and I used to party together. And man, listen, and I just remember Cub being out there, and I'm throwed, but he throwed further than I am.
Yeah.
But to see him now, how he's pastoring 2 churches, right? He's impacting people's lives to the positive. So I've got to know Cousin Brand is definitely proud of y'all. So talk to me a little bit, cuz I mean, you kind of talked about how your mom, when she did that impacted you. Talk to me about family, man, and how you started off the conversation talking about family, but I really want to understand from you, because again, let's just be honest. There's family that do impactful things for us. Some of them are more positive, while some of them are negative. But again, there are things that we can learn lessons from. So So talk to me about cousin Bren and what she did that helped you become Anquan Boldin.
Yeah, man, my mom is she's definitely a pillar in my life. And that's the thing I think sometimes we forget, especially as parents. Like, man, your kids have a front row seat.
Right.
You can't just tell your kids one thing and you not live it out and expect to follow suit.
That's right.
For my mom, man, she tried to model what she preached to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she told us something, it wasn't, I'm telling you this, but I'm doing, you know what I'm saying, opposite. It was, I'm telling you this, I'm trying to live this in front of you to show you how. Obviously, my mom's not perfect, you know what I'm saying? But I can honestly say, like, she did as much as she possibly could, you know what I'm saying, to raise us in the ways of God. It's funny because you talk about, like, we have family that influences us, you know what I'm saying, in one way, and then you have family who influence you in another way. I've had that, obviously. I mean, I got uncles and stuff, and you know what I'm saying, like, I thank God for my father now. My dad is saved now, but when I was growing up, like, my father wasn't saved, and a lot of the things that I was taught was contrary to what God's word says when it came from my father. And when I got to college, I used to pray for my dad all the time, man. Like, I thought, like, it was almost impossible for my dad to get saved. And I prayed for him, you know what I'm saying, pretty much like my whole college career. Then my dad ended up coming to Christ, you know what I'm saying? And that was like one of the biggest answered prayers I ever had.
Right.
But here's the dynamic, man. Like, and I was talking to somebody about this. As adults, we have things that we deal with. The Bible would call them strongholds.
Right.
A lot of the strongholds that you have in your life now comes directly from things you were taught. Opposite the way God's word says it, right? And I was telling somebody is, like, when I got older, I had a problem saying I'm sorry, like apologizing to people.
Okay.
But when I look back on it, I know exactly where that comes from. When I was younger, my dad taught me, don't say I'm sorry if you don't mean it. But this is what I was taught, to the point where I remember I was in school one day, ended up getting in trouble in school. Teacher calls my mom. She tells my mom what happened, the whole story, whatever. I come home, my mom disciplines me. And she tells me, when you go back to school tomorrow, I want you to apologize to that teacher. Right? And I'm like, all right, cool. I go to school the next day. I ain't apologize to the teacher. I go. My mom asked me, did you apologize to that teacher? No, I didn't. She didn't come to school today. She was absent. I'm lying, though.
Yeah.
The teacher was there the whole day, but because of what my dad taught me, I wasn't going to apologize to her because I didn't mean it. And I told my mom this lie until she just forgot about it and didn't bother me no more. And I say that because, you know, like, on the one hand, I had my mom who's teaching me and trying to instill in me the words of God, you know what I'm saying? The ways of God. But then I have others, you know what I'm saying, whether it be my dad or my uncles who weren't saved at the time or whoever it is, teaching me other things.
That's right.
So I'm grateful for my mom, who was that constant presence trying to teach me the ways of God. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when I got older and I began to realize, like, man, I'm jacked up. Like, truly, I'm not I'm not as good as I think I am because of things that I was taught. You know what I'm saying? And the Bible tells the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
That's right.
But they're mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. What's the strongholds? The strongholds are the things I've been taught how to do according to the world.
Right.
The strongholds are me not being able to say, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The strongholds are me being taught I'm not a man unless I have more than one woman. Like
That's
these
right.
are the strongholds I have in my life. But because I had my mom who was a constant presence and, you know what I'm saying, steady trying to teach me the ways of God, I now realize, man, the things that she was trying to teach me would have prevented me from going down this route or going down this road had I just listened. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So a lot of the stuff that had to be broken, had I just listened to my mom, I wouldn't have had to even deal with those strongholds, you know what I'm saying, as an adult.
Right.
So that's why I'm thankful, you know what I'm saying, that I had my mom who was a constant presence and, you know what I'm saying, a constant as far as like trying to teach us God's way of doing things.
Yeah. And that's powerful because again, you know, especially, you know, and like I said, you know, I love cousin Bren because she just kind of is who she is, right? And I know that she was you know, she was one of the ones that was there taking care of, you know, your grandma, you know,
Yeah.
Auntie Lou for me. And, you know, just, you know, the strength that she possesses and how she poured into you. And again, you know, I remember, I'm kind of circling back to what you said when you were talking about how she took you uptown. And I just remember because I didn't grow up down there, right? I would come down there on the summers and stuff like that. And so then when I got a little older, that's when I would go down there. And I wanted to hang out uptown because that was the place to be, you know, and especially because I was, you know, one of Pop Hickman children, you know what I mean? You know, that there was a certain like, oh, you want to Pop Hickman children.
Right.
But either way, where I'm going with that is this. I remember being down there and being uptown. And I remember hearing people arguing about a football game that happened 15, 20 years ago. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget how they were arguing about, man, if you would have picked up that block, man, I could have did thus and so, thus and so. And I'm bringing this up because the conviction that you had to not tap into those vices came from one thing that your mom poured into you, one thing. And I want to get your take on it because I'm gonna pull your family up here, man. You have a beautiful family, bro. And I love how your son, man, went into basketball and how, man, you know, I was just watching some of the highlights and dude is a beast out there. It's like, get out of mind. So talk to us about how you feel seeing your son, um, you know, follow in the athletics after you. What messages did you share with him? Because, you know, most times parents use their children to bring forth their dreams, right? So it had to be a different conversation because you created the dream life for Anquan Jr. So talk to me, man, about how you feel seeing that your son is going after his own path. How did that?
Yeah, man. Me and my wife, we're very proud of the path that he's taken. And I mean, he's been adamant about that path for a long time. The great thing about AJ, man, he grew up in the locker room.
Okay.
I've had him with me, man, since he was old enough. Like my wife gives him flack because she say he's a daddy's boy. But he's always been attached to me, always been at my hip. Every chance I've been able to, when I was playing in my playing career, he was with me at work. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm at the facilities, he's at the facilities.
Mm-hmm.
He's watching me work out. He's You know what I'm saying? He's literally witnessed my entire career.
Wow.
And it has been great for me because I didn't have to say too much to him.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to see what his father has done.
Mm-hmm.
On the days off, when I have, you know what I'm saying, when we don't have practice, it's me and him in the facility. He's seeing his dad, you know what I'm saying, doing the work that other people might not do. So he's picked up, which I think is a blessing, how to be a professional even before, you know what I'm saying, like he gets to that level. That's why I say it's so important to model things for your kids. I can tell my son, you know what I'm saying, like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, whatever. But when he's seeing me do it and ask questions, okay, Dad, why are you doing this? I can explain to him, okay, son, this is the reason I'm doing this, or, you know what I'm saying, this. And it clicks to him and he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he'll ask me questions. I'm like, why he asking me that? But then soon after, I realized why he's asking me. You know what I'm saying? Because now he has implemented it in his regiment. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, him witnessing me throughout my playing career has kind of shaped what he wants to do, who he wants to be. And I always told him, me and my wife, we always told him, hey, look, don't try to be like your dad.
That's right.
One thing that I always find out that, like, when you think about people who've had successful careers, right? I always tell people, the further away you get from the game, the better your career was. And you think about it, like, you had these old heads, like you were saying, like dudes was talking uptown and they was like, I don't know how many lies you heard, but I guarantee you, everybody who talked about their playing career in high school, they were all Americans. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Everyone.
You know what I'm saying? They scored 100 touchdowns. They had, you know what I'm saying? They had every offer you can think about, but that's just what happens when we get away from the game. People begin to, like, glorify how great they was, or they begin to embellish how good they were. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I never wanted my son to have to compete with a ghost of his father.
Wow.
Because if my son would have played football, he would always be compared to his father.
Right.
Well, you didn't do this like your father. You didn't accomplish this like your father. You didn't do that. So for me, I didn't want my son to live up under that kind of pressure. Not that he couldn't stand it or he couldn't fulfill it.
Right.
I just wanted my son to enjoy being who he was.
Right.
So I told me and my wife, we told him, look, honestly, I don't want you playing football, but I want you to chase your dreams. And if your dreams is football, we're going to support you as much as we can.
Right.
If your dreams is doing something else, we're going to support you as much as we can. When my son told me he wanted to play basketball, I was elated. I was happy.
Right.
But here's what I did. You're going to have to show me that you're serious about it.
That's right.
I'm not finna, okay, you say you want to play basketball. I'm not finna send you to every camp. I'm not finna get a trainer. I'm not finna do all of this stuff. And we told him, if you serious, here's what we want to see from you. We want to see your work ethic.
Right.
Now, see that you're serious about it, then I'm going to get you everything that I can to help you.
Right.
But I can't want this for you better than you want it for yourself.
That's right.
And when I tell you, he showed us that he really wanted it. I'm talking about a kid who would get up 5 o'clock in the morning for his first workout, be at his next workout or his lift at 12 or 1 o'clock, and then have another workout scheduled at the end of the day.
Right.
A kid who made us buy him a shooting machine, and the only thing we hear is a ball outside 11 o'clock at night. he's out there putting up 500 to 1,000 shots.
Oh, wow.
So when I see a kid like that, okay, it's my responsibility as your father to support your dream as much as possible, because now I understand that you're serious about it.
Right.
And that's what my wife has tried to do. We tried to foster that environment where, hey, if this is what you say you want, let's go get it. But we're not going to put in more work than you're willing to put in.
That's
and
right.
He has shown us, you know what I'm saying, not through his work, through his talk, but through his actions, that this is something that he truly wants, something that he's dedicated to. And like I told him, I want you to make people forget about the name Anquan Boldin in football and make them understand that name as being a basketball player.
Right.
So if you can do that, then you're in great company.
Yeah, man, listen, and I tell you, that's just phenomenal. I was just showing a couple clips there, and what you're talking about, his mindset is the same thing that reminds me of what Kobe was talking about, right? Big time Kobe fan, man. I really am. I'm a big time Kobe fan, and I won't get into that whole I won't even bring up the other guy's name because I don't even think it deserves to even be in the same sentence. But either way, you talk about him shooting 500 to 1,000 shots a day, man. Where did he get that from? Where did he get that? Or was that more or less where you think that goes back to what you sold into him by exposing him to the locker room, to the lifestyle earlier? Is that where you think that came from?
It came from that, because like I said, he was with me all of the time, and he seen me when nobody was around, you know what I'm saying, working on routes, working on anything that I thought was going to improve my game. And that's what most people don't understand. You see Sunday.
Yeah.
People cheer because guys score touchdowns or they do this or whatever. If you realize how many times somebody has practiced that or prepared for that moment, you will have a different appreciation for the guys that you actually see, you know what I'm saying, on Sundays or on whatever day it is. The amount of repetition, the amount of time spent honing in your craft, it's insurmountable.
Mm-hmm.
If I think of the number of times I've ran a slant route, like people see you on Sundays, see you catch a slant route, and it looks routine. But I can tell you easily, I've ran over 10,000 slant routes, easily, like without question. You know what I'm saying? That's the repetition that he has seen, you know what I'm saying, over his years. And he's realized, okay, if I want to be this type of player, this is the type of work that I have to put in. He's seen it, and it's been ingrained in him from the talks that we've had.
Right.
While my son was in high school, I preached to him what it means to be a professional, what it means to be consistent, what it means to show up every day, what it means to do the things that your teammates or other people are not willing to do, what it means to sacrifice. That's something that people don't understand. Okay, if I want to get to this level, it's going to cause me to sacrifice some things that I really want.
Exactly right.
Again, when I was in high school, I never went to a high school dance. I never hung out uptown. Like, all of that stuff was foreign to me, and not because I was such a great kid, but because I was singular focused on making it to the NFL. So for me, it got to a point where my mom would call my cousins, and she would be like, y'all come get y'all cousin out of the house, because only thing he does is eat, sleep, football. Like,
that's right.
Repeats this cycle over and over. So for me in high school, it was Monday through Thursday practice, Friday game. After the game on Friday, I would immediately go home, because for me, I got to wake up the next morning and work out. So Saturday morning, I would get the car from my mom, go to the field, work out by myself. I had to be home by like 11 o'clock. So I would work out like 7 o'clock in the morning, work out, just play the game the night before. But I work out at 7, and then I'm home by 12 o'clock, by 12, because I got to shower up and be ready for college football. I would watch college football all day. I'm envisioning myself in that position.
Right.
So I go home, watch college football all day, and I'm watching different players, seeing the things that they do. How can I improve my game? Obviously, Sunday I'm in church, but when I come home Sunday after church, it's all football. And that was my routine throughout, you know what I'm saying, my high school career, to the point where even when the off season came, I played other sports, but I always trained football, to the point where, like, a lot of my friends would be like, man, let's go holler at these girls, or we got a party we want to go to, nah, man, I'm good. Like, I can't forfeit having fun for my workouts. You know what I'm saying? And I always looked at it as, I'll sacrifice now so that I can enjoy, you know what I'm saying, what it is that I want to do later.
That's right.
I never forget, I had a friend, a homeboy who I was raised with, and this was probably about 3 years ago. I saw him, and he says, man, Q, man, what's up, man? You know, we shooting the breeze, catching up. He was like, man, I'm going to tell you. He said, I remember when you used to tell me, like, you couldn't hang out, that you had to work out and stuff like that. And I would tell you, man, you crazy and all of that stuff. He was like, man, if I can go back, I would follow you everywhere, even the church.
Wow.
He said, because the work that I saw you put in, like, I wish I had that type of work ethic. You know what I'm saying? I was younger, because I saw, you know what I'm saying, what it allowed you to do, like, when you got older. He said, for me, man, I was so focused in on, like, you know what I'm saying, messing with girls and having fun, to that stuff escaped me. But he said, I tell you, bro, like, and he said, I tell everybody, man, if I had to do it all over again, I'd go back and I'd be tied to your hip.
Wow. So that's phenomenal. Because again, and I know as we all get older, we all look back and want to go back, but unfortunately we can't. But again, the fact that he had the courage to share that with you, right? That speaks volumes to who he is, you know what I mean? But let me ask you this question, cuz. So you were able to motivate AJ, again, to follow after you because of what you were doing. What about parents out there that they may have children that are athletic? Maybe not even, let's not even limit it to athlete, to sports. How would you encourage parents today to motivate their children to be that professional when they don't know how to be a professional? How to motivate their children to become scholars when they themselves were not scholars? How would you motivate that parent? What advice would you give?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And for me, this goes back to the faith piece.
Mm-hmm.
For every kid that you have, their journey is different.
Okay.
We as parents, I think sometimes we forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to raise all our kids the same. Me and my wife, we understand that, and we have 2 boys. They're different.
Right.
And we're not trying to raise them the same. Like, I don't want Ashton to be like AJ, and I don't want AJ to be like Ashton.
Right.
They're two completely different individuals, right?
Right.
But here's why I say it goes back to faith. Because for us as parents, number one, all of this stuff is new to us.
Right.
Me having AJ, man, I was a first-time father. It don't come with a handbook. Nobody, you know, nobody tells you, like, this is how it's gonna be, or nobody knows exactly the journey that you, as a parent, and your kid are going to go through. Everybody's journey is different.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important to have that intimate relationship with God so that he can teach you how to raise each individual child. I don't go to God and say, God, teach me how to raise my kids.
Okay.
I go to God and say, okay, God, teach me how to raise AJ and teach me how to raise Ashton.
Right,
Because AJ needs that Ashton don't need. There's things that Ashton needs that AJ doesn't need. But the only way that I'm going to know that is if I go to God himself, who created not only me, but my kids.
AJ and Ashton, exactly right.
And he knows exactly
right.
He knows the plan he has for both of my kids.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
I don't.
Yep.
Only thing I know is what I was taught as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what most of us go off of. How I was parented as a kid, that's how I'm going to parent. Right?
Right.
And in that, I've seen my parents do some great things in parenting, but I've also seen some mistakes that they've made. Right?
Right.
So I can learn from those things.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, I need to hear from God. How does he want me to raise what he's blessed me with?
Right.
How can I be a good steward of what you've given me? Most people just look at that as money.
Mm-hmm.
Not so.
That's right.
I got to be a good. What if I'm trying to make Ashton play football or basketball when God is calling him to do something completely different? Might not be anything that has to do with sports.
Right. Exactly right.
And then a lot of times we get caught up in what we want our kids to be as opposed to watching our kids, learning what they are into, and then fostering them in that environment.
That's rich.
If my kid comes home every day and he wants to draw and color and build, why in the world would I have him out there on the football field?
That's right.
That might not be his cup of tea. Mm-hmm. But if I see that this kid wants to draw, he likes to take pictures, he wants to color, I'm going to put him in a class that has to deal with arts. I'm going to put him somewhere where that gift that he has can be fostered.
That's right.
And I think too oftentimes, again, we have this picture in our minds what we want our kids to be, as opposed to paying attention to them and seeing the things that they gravitate to, and then ushering them in that field.
Right. That's rich, man, because, and I'll say, I've seen too often where instead of parenting children for success, people parent children for selfishness, to meet their needs. What do I mean by that? Yeah, go on out there, play basketball, get a scholarship, go make money, and they'll say it. So you can buy mama this. So you can buy daddy that, right?
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me, and you can definitely speak to this more than I can, but I know we see the fallout when we see these people who have made it, but then they start swerving out of control. They have no base. They have no substance, because everything they were taught to strive for was selfish in nature. It was never helping them understand who they are. And that's why, again, appreciate what you said about AJ, because at the end of the day, he's being his own man. You see what I'm saying? He's taking on his own identity. Ashton is taking on his own identity. And therefore, it's up to you as the parents to support their decision, still guide, right? Because I think this is another gap in our community now, where people have gotten to the point where what they're wanting to do is they let the child do what they want to do,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean, with no guidance.
Right.
And then when they decide they want to do whatever, it's like, well, these kids, you know how they are. I think that's selfish. I think that's extremely selfish. I've seen where I remember one time I did a mentoring program in the school, and I was working with the basketball team. And you know, I remember going in there the very first day because I wanted to see the mindset. Um, I remember going in there the very first day, and I was like, "Okay, fellas, how y'all doing today?" And I remember asking the questions. All right, who in here has a 4.0 GPA or higher? Raise your hand. What about a 3.5 to 3.9? Maybe two. 3.03, and I did that all the way down. Then I asked them this question. I say, so let me ask you a question. I want you to think about it from a business standpoint. If I have $150,000, $200,000 to give, who do you think I'm going to give that to? Am I going to give it to a decent basketball player or a good basketball player that has a 2.5 to 3.0? Or am I going to give that to a good basketball player to have a 3.5 to 3.9? And I asked that question, bro, not because it's about the GPAs. It's not. But I think, and I want to hear your opinion on this. I think how you do one thing is how you do all things.
Right.
And I think that a lot of these children were led to believe that just because you're good, that automatically means you're going to get a scholarship to go to school, and then the NBA is going to be waiting for you, and they're going to receive you with open arms, or the NFL is going to be waiting to receive you at open arms. But the sad part about that is that you see that they go off to school, and within 1 to 2 years, they're back home.
Right.
And now they have a regular job. And it's like, well, hey, man, what happened? Well, you know, man, the coach and it's everybody else. When, again, I think it goes back to that mindset and that family structure in the beginning, where parents have got to have courage to lead their children, to parent their children, to allow the community to support them, but as well as parent them. What do you think about that?
Man, I think that's head on. I think sometimes, man, like the character piece is missing.
Yes, sir.
People don't teach character.
That's good.
Sometimes if you say that nowadays, man, people will call you old school. But they don't understand and realize like just how much people gravitate to people that have good moral character.
Mm-hmm.
Find me a kid who is average with a great work ethic, and I'll take him every day of the week.
Right.
Because here's what I found in my life, in my career. The guys who are super talented but have zero character, you're gonna get played.
Right.
Whether you know it or not. Because people are gonna use your talents up until the point where they can't deal with you anymore.
Wow.
And we've seen it, you know what I'm saying, in a number of people, man. Like, and it's heartbreaking because nobody wants to be honest with that person.
That's right.
Until it's too late.
That's right. That's right.
And that's why AJ, be the hardest worker. Be a kid that's coachable. Be a kid that's willing to do things that other people are not willing to do. Be the kid that says yes, sir, no, sir. Be the kid that has character.
That's right.
And watch how it translates. Watch how people in positions of authority are going to gravitate towards you.
Wow.
How people in positions of authority are going to point you out.
Yeah.
All because you have character.
Yeah.
That other people don't have. And I think what happens sometimes is, and it happens to a lot of athletes, especially like athletes that are good early. People tell you how great you are.
Yeah.
But they don't challenge you to become better.
Mm-hmm.
So now you think you're God's gift to the world.
Right. Right.
And you think my stuff don't stink.
That's
so
right.
I can, you know what I'm saying? And get away with it because people allow you to do that for a certain amount of time.
Right.
But then it gets to a point where people don't want to deal with you at all.
Right. Right. Right.
And you are looking around like, man, what's going on? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
All because your circle has not told you the truth.
Right.
Dude, you're a horrible person. That's why nobody wants to deal with you. And like,
that's right. That's
your
right.
talent no longer is good enough for people to deal with you in that way. You know what I'm saying? Get away with stuff.
Wow.
And it all comes back to bite you, all because you lack that moral character.
Yeah. Character is almost like a cuss word now. And, you know, but again, I think probably even one of the saddest things that happened is, you know, so let me, how can I frame this question? And we got a guy that's watching right now. His name is Melville Alexander. He's out of Savannah, Georgia. And I call him Big Unc. Good dude, man. Great brother. Great entrepreneur. Doing some amazing things, man. And, you know, but we were having a conversation very similar to this earlier this week. Because in the military, you get some people and they come in and you can't teach them anything because they're like, I'm good at my job. That's it. All I have to do is show up, and almost like the world revolves around me. Right. But then once the system show we don't really need you like that, they start getting passed over for promotions.
Yep.
People no longer want to deal with you because we're telling you your stuff stink, right? We're like, and you're the stuff. When you tell them that, they become a specific guy, and we call them lifelong specialists, right? Lifelong E4s. And the sad part about it is, in the military, they end up getting chaptered out of the military, right? They end up getting like dishonorable discharges and everything else. And they're the one that's saying, oh, the military is this, the military is that, blah, 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 right? But what I'm trying to get to is how it throws them away. We throw people away because and we talked about this once before, Delonte West, when he played with Cleveland. And it was like, you know, after the spotlight got off of Cleveland, what happened? We see this brother on the side of the road panhandling.
Yep.
How does that happen? Not even how. We know how. The system is vicious. The system does what it does, right? But how do we insulate our loved ones from being a part of that? You get where I'm coming from? How do we do that? That's what I really want to understand. How, in your opinion, because again, you've been there, right? I mean, your accomplishments are phenomenal, right? Multiple Pro Bowl players, Super Bowl ring winner. I thought you were going to have your ring on today to kind of shine on us today. But, you know, again, Walter Payton, Man of the Year recipient, right? That's no small thing. You know, well, I ain't going to say everybody, but those of us that are old school know sweetness now.
Right.
So So to get that, you've had an amazing career. Not to just talk about, the NFL records that you set, but even the team records that you set. So, cuz in your opinion, I really, really want to understand. Help me understand from your standpoint, how do we protect our children? How do we protect them from going through the system, so to speak?
It starts early, man. Like the Bible tells you, train up a child in the way they should go. When they're older, they won't depart from it. And I truly believe that. Like, we have to, and in this day and age, man, we put so much on other people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you grow up in the church, you'll talk about what the church is not teaching your kid. Kid goes to school, you'll talk about what the school is not teaching your kid or what they are teaching your kid. The first teacher should be home.
Right. Exactly right.
A lot of times we put too much onus on other people and other places to teach our kids.
That's right.
Instead of taking that responsibility on ourselves.
That's right.
When you see my kid in public acting up, that's a failure on me as a parent. It's my job to teach my kid character. It's my job to teach my kid what it means to respect authority. It's my job to teach my kid all of these things. Right. I can't expect, you know what I'm saying, somebody else to raise my child. That's my job. Right. So I think sometimes we as parents, man, we try to pass that off on other people instead of taking on that responsibility ourselves. I can't get mad at nobody else for what my kid is doing.
Right. Right.
And the sooner that I address those problems, the less resistance I have to them. I can't wait till my child gets to become a teenager to try to parent him.
That's right. That's right.
If my child is 14, 15, 16 years old, and I'm just now telling him the way that he's doing things isn't correct, I'm going to have a lot of problems on my hands.
Right.
As opposed to when my kid is 4, 5 years old, me correcting him over and over again, I have less resistance to what I'm teaching him. I told somebody this. I told somebody, I said, say I got my son, right? And I go and I tell my son, go make your bed. He goes upstairs and he makes the bed. And I go up there and I look at it. And I tell my son, no, this ain't right. Make this bed. And he again tries to make the bed. And again, it's not to my satisfaction. I have no right to say anything to my son if I myself have never taught him how to make that bed.
Exactly right. Exactly
if I haven't gotten down and I'm talking about step by step, showed him how to make that bed, I can't get mad at him. Because I didn't do my part as a father.
Yes.
And show him what it looks like to make a bed. Now, if I do my part as a father, I got every right to be mad at him.
Right.
I got every right to discipline him.
Yep.
But too often, we don't teach our kids the right way.
Right.
So now when my kid is involved in something,
You there, cuz? All right, look like we got cut off there, but again, what a powerful statement there that was being made by Cuz. We'll give him a chance to come on back in. But yeah, so again, appreciate the comments there. Good to see you, Unc. I see you basically saying the same thing that we're saying about how you have to protect them by training them and being honest with them according to what he's saying. Exactly right. We've got to be honest with them. And I see your back, cuz you're making a very valid point. Let me interject this point in here. So what you said made sense. Let's use that. When it comes to making the bed, if you don't teach them how to make the bed, then you can't necessarily hold him accountable. I think what's happening is, and I want to hear y'all opinion on this. I think what's happening is this. I think people are now afraid of their children because they're like, Junebug is smarter than I am. Lil Tiff is much better at this, that, and the other. So they feel like there's nothing that I can teach them when that's so far from the truth. Because just because I can't dribble a basketball like Steph Curry doesn't mean I can't teach you the work ethic that's necessary to dribble that ball like Steph Curry. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There are certain lessons that can be taught that aren't necessarily relevant to how well they perform in sports. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I can teach you to be accountable, then that now is transferable across everything that you do. You know what I mean? If I can teach you how to be present, that is now accountable to everything that you do. What I can teach you is transferable. And what I think is happening, and again, I want to hear your opinion on this. You have parents now who are afraid to teach their children because they're like, well, they're smarter than me. I only have a high school diploma. I can't talk to them about what it means when they go to college, or I can't talk to them about this, or I can't talk to them about that. What's your take on that?
I think that's valid. I think more importantly, a lot of parents these days try to befriend their kids.
Yep.
And I think that's where we go wrong. My kid needs parents.
That's right.
My kids don't need another friend.
That's right.
And if me as a parent refuse to parent my kid and try to befriend my kid, I'm doing them a disservice.
Exactly right.
So,
exactly right.
And me and my wife, we talk about it all the time. I don't care if my kids don't like me.
That's right.
Like, honestly, and at this juncture in their lives, I don't care if they don't like me.
That's right.
Because what I do know is what I'm teaching them, what I'm instilling in them, even if they don't get it right now.
That's right.
When they get older,
yep,
and they're grown and they have their own families and so on and so forth, their own careers, they're going to respect me as their parent.
That's right.
Because of what I instilled in them, because of what I taught them. And then they'll come around. So like if my kids don't talk to me for the next 10 years, okay, cool. But I know there's going to come a day and time where they're going to be like, you know what, Dad, you was right.
Right.
I wish I had listened to you. But I'm okay with my child being I'm okay with my child being mad at me.
Right.
As opposed to getting down the road, you know what I'm saying, 15 years, and my child would ask me, well, why didn't you tell me, you know what I'm saying, this before? Or why didn't you teach me?
That's right. I'm
cool with that.
That's right. So let me throw another curveball at you, because I ain't trying to hold you hostage. But watch this. I want your opinion on this. Sometimes I think that some parents are jealous of their children, meaning they see that their children have the potential to go very far. And so, whereas there's an opportunity for that parent to teach their children the right way, and even if they can't do it, plug them in with somebody that can teach them the right way. But the parent will friend the child because they don't want the child to do better than them. Because now what that's going to do, let's go back to, the guy that used to be uptown swearing up and down that if Bobby would have hit that block, he would have ran all the way down the field. He would have became Mr. Football and all this, that, and the other, right? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that dynamic before. And the only thing I would say is shame on that parent. You know what I'm saying? Because, man, if you can't support your kid and be happy for them and wish the best for them as your seed, then you don't need to be a parent.
Yeah, strong words. Yeah, strong words. I mean, I'm telling you, man, but I think it's now more prevalent than ever before.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you're going to tell me that, you had the advantage of a community, not you per se, but as a parent, you had an advantage of growing up with the community. You had the advantage of mentorship. You had the advantages of accountability, being held accountable for your actions. But then you shirk that accountability. Let's just say a child came out of that. You see this child has a great opportunity to be great. And instead of you parenting that child, you befriend them. Like, I don't understand how a parent can like their child's picture when they're up there throwing up gang signs on these pictures. Yeah. I don't understand that. Somebody got to help me. Funny story. I remember, Lil Rod, and he was I think he had about graduated or was getting ready to graduate. And I mean, I was all over him like a cheap suit, you know what I mean? And again, I wasn't on all the different social media platforms, but I did randomly inspect his phone. But one day I remember I looked at it and I saw that he had the slits in his eyebrows. And you can ask my wife and daughter. So I fronted him out with my fist balled up. I say, so what set you claiming? He looked at me like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, what them slits in your eyebrow? What that mean? Oh, nothing. I just did it. Oh, you just did it? Well, I'm going to help you undo it. And, bro, I gave him the clippers and made him shave just one eyebrow, not two. I made him shave just one eyebrow. Because, like you say, I'm not your friend.
Right.
I'm your father, and it's my responsibility, it's my wife's responsibility to help make sure that we duplicate productive citizens in society.
Yep.
And following trends that quote unquote mean nothing. No, that's not how you get ahead, Jack. And that's not gonna go in my house. So I literally made him shave it. And again, I don't care how he took it, but at the end of the day, I knew what I was not going to allow to go on in my house. So,
right.
So yeah, man. So that's kind of my one of my crazy daddy stories that I'll share. So let's kind of get ready to wrap it up here, Cole. Let's talk a little bit about finances. Now, obviously you're well off. Again, you've had a very successful career. You're an entrepreneur now, traveling the globe, not just the nation, but you're traveling the globe, actually helping out the other with the players union. And I know that's extremely phenomenal. You good, Cole?
Yeah, I'm gonna set this on this charger.
Okay. Yeah. So but again, as an entrepreneur, talk to us about finances. I know we talked before and you were saying how, man, as soon as you got money, it was on and popping, right? So talk to us about that, about going from just being regular, if I can say that, to now being paid. Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, that's a journey that I don't think most people are ready for, especially as a 20, 21 year old, 22-year-old, going from honestly poverty
Right.
to now having millions of dollars in your bank account, and now becoming a target of a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people understand that dynamic.
Right.
And then there's also, you know, the whole, when you made it, we made it. And so now you're taking care of people who, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And I don't think people understand the type of pressure that they put on kids at that age.
right.
Because I think it's easier to make money than it is to maintain. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're giving the tools of how to make money. We're not given the tools of how to keep what you have.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially with the culture that we live in. Everything in this culture says go out, ball out, splurge, spend. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
YOLO. You only live once.
Yeah.
And that mindset goes completely against being a good steward and being able to maintain what you have.
Right. Yeah. And that's we see that. I see that every day. I work with clients day in, day out. And most of them say, why didn't I know about this beforehand? Right. Especially in the underserved communities, mainly your minority communities, right? Those are things that are foreign conversations to us. So you talk about maintaining, and I know that you have a financial plan that you've been working with for years. Talk to us how that's been for you.
Yeah, it's been good. And I hear you say, like, you know, people come into money and they be like, those conversations are foreign, right? Those conversations are foreign because those are conversations that we weren't raised having.
Right.
Because we didn't have the finances to have those conversations.
That's right.
We weren't taught how to save. We weren't taught how to put money away. We weren't taught how. I mean, it's hard to have those conversations when you live in paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, when you're struggling to buy groceries or you're struggling to pay the light bills and things like that, like, that's a hard conversation to have. How can I save?
Right.
When I'm barely making ends meet?
Right.
So that's the reason that those conversations are foreign. And that's the reason that you see players or people have difficulty with money once they come into it, because they're not prepared for that part of their lives.
Right.
For me, you know, getting a financial advisor at the beginning of my career was probably one of the best things that I could have done, because now I'm beginning to learn and understand a new world that I was never exposed to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And for me, it was, my goal was always not to go back to the situation that I came from.
Right.
So how do I prevent that? You know what I'm saying? What does it look like to save? What does it look like? You know, because I mean, obviously, you see it again. We're going against a culture that's telling you everything opposite of this.
That's right. That's right.
When you get to the league, go get you that, you know what I'm saying, that Rolls Royce. Go get you that big chunk. Go get you, you know what I'm saying? Like, go show people how much money you have.
That's right.
And that's what we're being taught by culture.
Yep.
When in actuality, you should be telling kids, save, 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 save.
Yep.
If you want to be successful, you're going to be, here's one of the things I like to tell people. Your biggest successes are going to come from your discipline.
Right.
If you're disciplined, you can be successful.
Right. That's right.
If you want to be successful in finances, be disciplined. You don't have to go out and buy every pair of Jordans that you see.
That's right.
Or you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do that. Every time a car comes out, you don't need to go buy it.
Yeah.
How many houses can you have?
Right.
These are things that people are promoting, but they're actually bad financial decisions. And these are the things that come back to bite guys, you know what I'm saying, when they're older. You're going to have a dude go out and spend $100,000 on a chain.
Uh-huh.
And next year, he's not going to even wear the chain.
Yep.
Now, what is he going to do with that $100,000 investment?
Yeah.
Because that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
You just spent $100,000 on something you're going to enjoy if a year.
Yep.
Now what? When that's money you could have put away and just gained interest off of, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
At this point in time, what, 7-8%? So we got to do a better job of teaching people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, look, I don't care about, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously I've been blessed enough to, you know what I'm saying, to be able to afford a certain lifestyle. But you know I got money. I don't need to show you that by what I wear. When I come around you, I don't need to have on Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Christian Louis Vuitton. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to be dripped down in designer gear for you to know that I have money.
Right.
And that's what people are trying to do.
Yeah.
You trying to show people you got money.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that.
Yeah. But let's talk about that. Why? Why is there a need to show people, quote unquote, that you have money when we realize that really a lot of those trinkets that people, a lot of the stuff that people have are really nothing more than false images of true wealth. So why do you think that?
Man, I think a lot of times, man, it's just a lot of times it's culture, but then there's a lot of times, like, you just think about it. If I'm a kid who comes up in an impoverished area, I don't have certain things.
Yep.
And again, it goes back to parenting.
Yep.
Like, if I'm teaching my kids, your worth is not in what you have.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but also if I'm teaching my kids, if you don't have the latest Jordans, you ain't nobody.
Wow.
That's sending a message to him as well. So now when he comes into money, I gotta show y'all, you know what I'm saying? I gotta have the latest whip. I gotta have the newest bag. I gotta have, and these are the things that we're teaching our kids. So a lot of it goes back to parenting.
Yeah. Man, what was the name of that dude? Here he is. Lil Uzi Vert. Do you know who that is? So that is the dude. And I'm being nice because this is a child-friendly show. But that's the dude that went and allegedly got a $24 million natural pink diamond implanted in his head. Yeah, come on now. I know you see that. Yeah. He went and got a $24 million naturally pink diamond implanted into his forehead.
Is he worth $24 million?
I'm gonna have to say no, because none of these little funky rappers these days are worth that. But I'm just saying, this is what he did. And now they're talking about, boom, he removed the diamond because he might die.
Wow.
So, I mean, now, that might be well, but come on, man. Who does that?
Yeah, man. I don't have no explanation for that. Like,
who does that? and again, I mean, but here we go again. I go back to Delonte West, right? I don't even know this rapper. I just know I remember seeing that and I was like, wait, what? But first of all, why would you even do that? I mean, that doesn't even pass the common sense test. But
Yeah.
I think it goes to a mindset that people have, which is you said it earlier, YOLO. And they don't realize that if you make smart decisions now, they will literally make sure that you can truly live the life that you want to live.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they don't understand that. Albert Einstein is quoted as saying that the eighth wonder of the financial world is compound interest. And trying to get people to understand that listen, you know, there are some things that you can afford, but this takes us back to our practices. Are you budgeting? Do you have a budget? Do you know, Cook, I give out free budgets. Ask me how many people have actually taken me up on that. I've been in this business over 3 years. And I can tell you right now, on this hand, I have to give you back some change on the amount of people that took me up on getting a free budget. Because what I tell people is a budget is a roadmap to where you want to go.
Exactly.
We don't realize how when you go in Walmart, if you don't have a list, you're going to go in there and come out with some stuff that you didn't want to go in there for.
Every time.
But again, that's money that you could save. You know, these bundles now, man, you know, come on, ladies. I done talked about dudes, but let's talk about the wig pieces and stuff like that. Somebody was telling me that people will pay thousands of dollars for a wig.
For a wig?
Yeah, for a wig. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh, I need to get in that business then.
Bro, they got that one sold up, bro. Don't even waste your money on that. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, no, I mean, real talk, like to the point around here. So I live in the Memphis area. But you can see where Rite Aids and Dollar Generals have closed down. The majority of those places have now become hair stores. And the thing is, the owner of the store doesn't have the good wigs in arm's reach.
Oh, they're gonna have that behind glass.
He actually got a stick. And he'll actually go, if they want to see it, he actually got to reach up using the stick to get the good wigs down. And I'm saying that to say that when it comes to finances, a lot of time people want finances, but the finances that they have, they're not being good stewards of those now. And so when it comes to financial literacy, I know you have access to a financial plan, and probably some of the other fellows in the league have that. But how do we get the word out to the community that, hey, listen, and just let me say this, and we talked about this when we were just chopping it up. I got embarrassed for you because people, again, rooted for you and they felt like your success was their success, but that still doesn't entitle them to your money, right? Because again, the investment you made into your future, you made that. Was there support along the way? Absolutely. But that still gives no one any entitlement to just come up to you and ask you money. And I remember when we were down there for Uncle Two-Man funeral, I remember somebody walked up and instead of just speaking like, hey, what's going on? Good to see you. they spoke and were making a reference to like, yeah, I need about 1,500 or something like that. And I'm sitting here looking like, man, and I just wanted to take off on this person because they don't even value. They don't value what they have. And so somehow they feel like if they get it from you, they get a chance to live a better life, but they're not even valuing what they have. So all that rambling, let me get to the point that I'm trying to make. How do we get to the point where we can make financial literacy cool again? I mean, do we need to get a rapper to put it in a song? What do you think we need to do to get that out to the community?
Man, that's a great question, man. Like, because we see it so often where there's just lapses in financial literacy. Like, even people that have access to it still go astray from it. I mean, I've seen it over my career. And I think the actual statistic is like probably like 4 years after retirement, most guys going broke. And we see those things on like ESPN, you know what I'm saying, 30 for 30, like going broke, all of those things.
Yep. Yep.
And it's heartbreaking because, man, like, honestly, some guys try.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have a lot of bad apples out there who prey on people who just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
There's a lot of con artists who make a living off of other people's success. And I think before you get into all the other stuff, I think the basics have to be taught. And what I mean by the basics is, like you said, a budget. But for most people, like, who want to talk about like investments and things like that, like, you have to start at step one.
Right.
Like, first of all, how do we make money?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
And one of the ways you can make money is simply, like you said, budgeting.
Yep.
Like, and that's going to cause me to be disciplined. That's going to cause me to forego some things that I really want.
Yeah.
But I have to ask my question, do I need it?
Yep. Yep.
And do I want it in forfeiture of what I can have in the future? So, do I want them new J's that they're going to tax me on because I want to get them before everybody else get them?
Right.
Or do I put that money aside and let that money grow for me?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times that's the decision that a lot of people struggle with, especially in our communities. I mean, I don't like to talk down on people. I don't like to.
Right.
That's not my thing.
Right.
My thing is to help people understand what we're doing.
Right.
So, what are we doing with our income tax checks? Are they spent before they get in our hands? Or have we made a plan on how to grow that money?
Wow.
What are we teaching our kids when it comes to prom?
Yep. Man.
The amount of money that we're spending on prom for 1 or 2 nights. Can I send my kid to prom and have them enjoy themselves and not have to break the bank?
Right.
Is it necessary for me to go get my kid a Lamborghini, a car that I can't afford for prom? Or, and this is one of the great things that I love about, like, my son and the school that he went to. For his prom, you had to catch a bus
Wow.
to the prom site, or else you couldn't get in the prom.
Oh, wow.
So all that renting cars and all that, doing all of that fashion show stuff before, nah. So I think we spent if $500, like, you know what I'm saying? Like his prom was
Yep.
real cheap. You look,
Yep.
you go get you a little fit, and that's it.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't have to go out and, I mean, even if he was at a school where they competed that way, we weren't doing it anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, right. I don't have to show you, you know what I'm saying, how much we have by going out and spending extravagantly on my kids or whatever. I want my kids to understand the value of $1.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's right.
If I don't teach my kids the value of $1, who is?
Right.
And then when they finally come into money, they need to realize what it took to get that money.
That's right.
The work that it took to get that. And if he learns how to value $1 at a young age, I ain't got to worry about him when he gets older. Like, I got my oldest son now. Me and my wife, we laugh at this dude because he ain't spending a dime.
Really?
I'm talking about, boy, you talking about frugal? The only thing he would spend money on is food and gas.
Really?
That's it.
That's it, huh?
He ain't spent. Matter of fact, if we tell him, like, say he goes somewhere and say he goes to Chipotle, right?
Right.
And he calls me, he's like, Dad, I'm about to stop by Chipotle. All right, bring me XYZ, bring me a bowl, whatever. Whatever he spends on my food, he's cash apping my wife so that she can reimburse him on the money that he's.
Yeah.
I'm talking frugal, dude. Like, dude ain't spending no money. And then I got my youngest son. All the money he gets, he hides it.
Really?
So the kid got a drawer. He think I don't know where his money is, but I know. This dude got a drawer with about $1,000 in there.
Man.
And I'm like, man, like, but he'll come to me, Dad, let's go to Target. I got something I want to buy. Okay, where's your wallet? Oh, I left it at home. Bro, like, you're not about to be pimping me. You know what I'm saying? Every time you want something. And I know you got money.
Right.
But he'll tell me, yeah, I got money, but I don't want to spend it.
Wow.
I don't want to. So you want to spend my money? Yeah. And he looks me dead in my eye and tells me, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Nah. But that's what's up, man. But, you know, and I'm trying to see if I can find the video so that those that are watching can see what we're talking about when it comes to prom. But, man, I remember when I was down there for Big Ella's funeral for my brother, Big Hurt. And, man, I just never forget, man, I saw Lambos.
Man,
I saw some of everything,
man,
exotic there for prom. And I'm sad to say, but that year was a year where some children passed because, again, you know, the car got away from a young brother or what have you. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, man, are you for real? And the saddest part about that is, while they're doing this, what message does it teach? You know, how many of those children go on to do greater things? How many of them actually go on to learn the value of $1? So I think I found at least one of the videos. So I'll pull it up, and cause you just kind of talk us through this here, man. So here we go.
Oh yeah, man. So they have like, it's the red carpet, I think it is, that they have before prom. So like before your kid goes to prom, they got to pull up to the park where they have the red carpet, where they have photographers and videographers, and they show off their outfits, they show off their cars. I mean, it's like going to an award show like in LA. And
Yep.
I mean, I think you saw right there, you saw a Rolls Royce, you'll see like Lamborghinis, you'll see Ferraris, you'll see, I mean, you name it. The top of the top of the top. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's unbelievable, man. Like the outfits that are tailor made. I remember one year, man, a kid flew in a helicopter just so that he can go get his Lamborghini, which was at the park. And
Wow.
I mean, the stuff that you see, man, you're like, wow. Like, and it's mind blowing to me, man. Like the money that's spent on a prom, you know what I'm saying? On, like I said, 1 or 2 days. I'm all for kids having fun. I'm all for kids enjoying themselves. I'm all for kids having lasting memories. You know what I'm saying? Like in high school and stuff like that. But man, like, just the amount of money being spent, I think we have to find a better way of doing things.
Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right. But but then it goes back to what you say. We say we don't have money.
Right.
No, we have money. I think it goes more to priorities. I think sometimes our priorities are in the wrong place.
Yep.
And it's like, again, I get it. We want to project greatness, but you can't just project greatness because it doesn't come that easy, right? You have to pay the man. And I'm just grateful that, my wife and our daughter is a senior this year. And, thank God she's been kind of easy on us. I'm gonna say it like that, Um, but I just appreciate the fact that she said, "Well, I don't even know if I'm going to the prom." And then she said, "If I do go to the prom, we got cars out there. I'm just gonna drive your car." So she's like, "I'm gonna drive." She's gonna drive my Benz, and I'm like, "Oh, shout! I don't know about that now." But again, my point being, when we started pushing back to her that, listen, we're gonna make sure that you have what you need to succeed. But everything excess, you own that. That's on you. And you're gonna have to figure it out about, how are you going to afford the lifestyle that you want to have? And I go
Yeah.
back to, again, the basics of it is a budget.
Right.
You have got to know your budget, and you've got to be willing to do that. And that's the message that we have to get out to the community, that you can't just become wealthy just walking up on it. I think we've spent some good time together, and I'm so grateful for that. But and I'll give you closing remarks. But I think that people have got to understand that being successful is intentional. You can't
Definitely.
just look up on being successful. When you talked earlier about your grind, your determination, how your mom sold that, she showed you, okay, if you want to be in the NFL, you're gonna have to stay away from this. So she gave you that foundation. Your faith in God has allowed you to be steadfast. And so, man, I'm proud of you. Cool. I'm proud of you. And, I know anytime I see you, I try to make sure you know that I really am genuinely proud of you. I saw how when they had the situation with Corey down there, how you used your platform to speak out against that violence and things of that nature, and just some of the policing practices that are taken. And then even now how with the players union, again, as I was saying before, you're traveling the globe, not just the nation, you're traveling the globe, helping show other people how to be successful. So, Cuz, I'm proud of you, and I'm grateful that you spend this time with us, man. So I'm going to give you parting remarks, my man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate all that. I appreciate you having me on. And like you said, man, it's intentional. Being financial literate is intentional. Building wealth is intentional. Being successful is intentional. Like you said, you don't just come upon these things. These things are planned out, they're written down, and they're executed to a T. That's how you become wealthy. That's how you become successful. It starts with a plan. And then it starts with the discipline to carry out that plan. So for anybody that wants to come into wealth, like, plan it out. What is it going to cost me to have the lifestyle that I want to have? What is it going to cost me to have a kid? Like, all of that stuff should be planned out.
Right. That's right.
My kids' futures were planned out before they were born. Before they were even in diapers, we had a 529 plan for them. Because we were already investing in their future. I could have waited and I could have said, well, I'm in the NFL, I can pay for college when it comes or whatever it is, but it made way more sense financially for me to have this 529 plan, which grew their money over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's more money in my pocket.
Yeah.
But these are things we have to be intentional about.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like, mapping this stuff out. You know what I'm saying? What is groceries going to cost me? You know what I'm saying? Monthly. What is light bill, water bill, like all of this stuff. And then at the end of that, what can I save?
That's right.
What can I put away? You know what I'm saying? Like, when income tax check comes and I get a refund, how much am I getting? Can I pay up my rent for the rest of the year and save the rest? Or, like, what does that look like?
That's right.
For everybody, it's a different, you know what I'm saying? That plan or that strategy is going to be a little different.
That's right.
But I don't believe you get there without it.
Exactly right.
So number one, having that plan, but then having the discipline to stick with that plan. That's going to be the key.
That's right.
And I think a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, people are so consumed with gratification right now that they're not willing to be patient and long-suffering to see the plan through to the end.
Right.
So if you have that plan and you're disciplined enough to carry out that plan, you'll see the fruits of it down the road. It may take 10, 20 years, but you're going to see the fruits of it. But sometimes we're so right now, you know what I'm saying, involved to, we want to see things happen right away. And when they don't happen right away, we get frustrated and then we deviate from the plan. Write out the plan, stick to it, and you'll see the fruits of it.
That's right. Man, that sound back like you talking about Habakkuk 2, right? You got to write that in, make it plain. Listen, cuz I do want to thank you again for your time. And I'll say this as well, you know, just this, you know, you just dropped a huge pink diamond. That's going to be my thing. Instead of saying a nugget, you just dropped a huge $24 million diamond like Lil Uzi Vert had. And the one that had it in his forehead. You just dropped one of those. Because fun fact, and one of the guy Melville, he made me look something up. The diamond is worth $24 million, but the dude is worth $25 million. So either way, you dropped a huge pink diamond for us, where you talk about tax time. You know, another thing that I share with my clients is when it comes to Christmas, stop trying to buy your kids trinkets. You know, to your point, everybody's saving habits are different. But one of the products that we have are the IUL, or the Index Universal Life policies. And what I put out a challenge to parents every year is just save. If you can just do an additional $200 for Christmas, for their birthday, you'll be amazed at how much when they turn 18, you'll have in cash value.
Yep.
You'll be amazed because you utilize that compound interest. And so, you know, again, Uncle Melville, man, you know, I call him Big Unc, but, you know, he talked about the gender reveals. We're wasting money, bro. Listen, man, don't nobody care if you're a Mimi, a Mimo, a Grandma, or none of that, right?
Man.
Come on, man. You know, oh my goodness. But again, you'll say, I don't have money. No, it's just, it's not that you don't have money. You are literally passing on poverty from generation to generation to generation.
Yeah.
And simply because people like it on social media, people think that it's the right thing to do. But that's how you stay poor. And I was talking with my team last night. We had our meeting last night, and I was just kind of letting them know, listen, being broke is temporary. Poor is a mindset.
Yeah.
And your mindset is going to take you one place or the other. It's either it's going to take you wherever your mindset is. So if you have a poor mindset, you'll never be wealthy, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. We can give you $1 million. Now, again, I'm showing my age, and I'm trying to quit, but you keep getting me stirred up, so it's your fault. I'm just letting you know. But I remember back during the Bulls era, and you know, they would have the half court shot, and if you sink that shot, then you get $1 million, right? So there was this one guy that sunk the shot, and he was a janitor. So he sunk the shot, he won the $1 million. And I remember, bro, I think it was 2 years later, maybe, bro was broke.
Yeah.
Had nothing to show for it. And I was showing my team last night that, you know, while I'm not a millionaire yet, I see that becoming a millionaire is not difficult. And a lot of people, but it's about because of my mindset. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm on my way to becoming a millionaire only because I realize it's not as difficult as people think that it is.
Right.
And I kind of want to say that to say that a lot of times, and I promise I'm closing this time, but y'all know as preachers, we get 3 I'm closing before we're done. The mindset has to change. And until you change your mindset, what you'll keep doing is using the trinkets that appear to be successful, the J's, the gender reveals, the Coach bags, and all this, that, and the other. You'll use those trinkets to make you feel like you're successful, but it's a smoke screen. Right. Because ultimately what you'll end up doing is pawning that stuff before long. You get what I'm saying? Because it's not something that is sustainable. So listen, we want to thank all of y'all that joined on, that commented. Again, Uncle Melville out there in Savannah, Georgia. Melville Alexander is a man. If travel is your thing, you want to holler at him. He has discount travel. He and his lovely wife, Lady Barbara Alexander, they are phenomenal. So check them out. And so we're super excited for each one of them that were in the comments. And again, really, really thankful for Mr. Anquan Boldin. Again, Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowl. Hey, what's going on with the Hall of Fame, fam?
I don't know. We'll see, man. Been a semifinalist, so we'll see what goes on with that.
Is there any voting that needs to be done? Who does the voting?
Nah, I think they do. That's from a committee that they have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and I've been kind of watching that, man. So it'll be phenomenal to see you get put in there this year. But either way, love you so much, cuz. Appreciate you. For those of you out there, remember, again, like, share this video. We dropped a lot of stuff in here. Again, we were talking for 2 hours, 19 minutes. Folks, you all got to hear from a multi-millionaire. You got to hear from one of the greatest entrepreneurs that's around. Somebody that truly started from the bottom and is now here. And so I hope that you will take advantage of this. I hope you'll go back and listen to it over and over and over again, and not only become inspired, but become determined to be successful. So it's your man, Rod Hickman, Generational Wealth Builders, where poverty ends with us. Remember what I always tell you, knowledge is not power until it's applied. So make sure you put it into action. Y'all take care and God bless.